Hey, what's happening, folks? Happy Monday. Thanks for coming over to the DFS 5-pack. We're going to roll dual videos today talking over both sports. We got baseball tonight. We got basketball tonight. Got ourselves a 2-game slate. So my poor boy Bellman over here had to go to bed early because it was the one night with no baseball where you're stuck up till the end of the night watching West Coast games, and you did not watch the Jazz and Nuggets. And I was telling you, like, it has been such a treat for me, just as a sports fan. Like, I have no skin in the game on Nuggets Jazz, right? Like, these guys aren't anywhere near me. I'm a Bucks guy. Like, watching Murray go up against Mitchell has been such a treat. I'm sure I'm not the only NBA fan thinking this, but these guys are amazing. And Jamal Murray is on a flat-out mission right now. And I'm not just saying that because he got me into the money yesterday.
I definitely have FOMO for not watching last night. I will definitely be watching the Game 7. And yeah, two guys that are really coming into their own in the bubble. It's a shame one of them has to go home.
Right. And I feel like I've kind of been a bigger Murray fan than you, and you've been a bigger Mitchell fan than me. And throughout the years, like, I've definitely gained a whole new respect for Donovan Mitchell throughout this series about how good he is. And just watching Murray, I'm like, you're better than I realized. Like, these two kids are just going at it and just been impressive and just been a joy as a sports fan.
Amen.
All right, guys. Speaking of sports fans, check out Overlay, man. They got 2 sports up right now. Probably won't get to the baseball dissection today because it starts really early again. They included the day games. I didn't realize that until right about now. Excuse me. We'll get back to that tomorrow, though. We will break down NBA later today. A lot of different contests are up. And at some point this week, we'll do a first thoughts video on the NFL, which starts real soon. I got some work to do on finishing, putting together a couple fantasy leagues myself. So a lot to talk about. You spoke with the guys over there the other day. They got some new types of contests coming out. We'll leave it at that. A lot to be excited about.
A ton to be excited about, man. And football is coming like real soon. Whenever you talk about football, I start thinking about the videos we were doing before sports were coming back. And it's crazy to me that like all 3 sports are about to be going on in a couple weeks.
It's going to be super busy. And then like that, baseball and basketball are going to be done. And we're going to have some time to just really worry about football. So, I mean, I know you all are happy sports are back. Like, they are back in full fury right now. So let's jump into it, guys. The NFL package is still for sale. I'll be moving it up to full price here soon. It's up on the website. Day passes are up. Love all you day customers. Appreciate what you guys do for us. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to it. Click the bell for notifications. And if you click the thumbs up button, we appreciate it. So we did a long members-only video on this slate yesterday. Really got to break down and talk this one through with each other. Talk about some of the odds and ends of it. We got 2 games tonight, so everybody's going to be semi-popular. I do have one guy we'll go through at the end who is a deeper sleeper for GPPs. One dude that we both 100% agree on is Dennis Schroder of the Oklahoma City Thunder. So this guy was balling before last game. He got ejected. Whether you think it was worth him getting ejected or not doesn't really matter. Also, like, I don't think you need extra motivation for an elimination game, but if you're looking for him, you got to expect Dennis is going to be aggressive today after that. He's too cheap, in my opinion, for his upside. This is an absolute must-play well, get-up spot for OKC. Time to pride up, and really, over the past couple of games, Schroder has looked like the best guard of the 3. I'm not saying he is, but he's been playing like it lately.
Yeah. Excuse me. The thing that got me last night when we were making our members only video that really stuck to me, and you're obviously right about this, is Schroder is just by far the most explosive out of those guards, especially when you look at CP3. We went into a long discussion about it last night. If one of these guys were to put up like a monster game, it'd be CP3. But if one of these guys is going to like 7x value, it's definitely going to be Schroder. He's playing really good ball for OKC. As you mentioned, I mean, he was their top offensive player before he got ejected last game. It makes no difference whether you think he did it on purpose or not. I personally don't. I think he comes out ready to play here. We've seen, and we've talked about this a lot, like the changing of the guard in OKC. Gallo looks old, slow. It looks like they don't have as good of a chance to win when he's on the court as opposed to Schroder. I expect Schroder to play big minutes today. And when he's on the court, he's got the ball in his hands a lot. And whether we talk about this a lot. Schroder is the type of guy that when he's on the court, he thinks he's the best player on the court. It's not right, but for DFS purposes, you love that.
So Chris Paul's the court general, and Shai is like the young up-and-coming stud. But I'll tell you this, like, it's a real struggle to roster Shai today. This has been 5 games, and Shai's been really good in a couple of them, but he's been slate-ruining, lose all your money terrible in 2 of them. And that's just a tough guy to roster. Schroder will be out there trying. Even if he shoots Justin Anderson-like and goes 1 for 15, dude will just keep shooting.
Yeah, and that won't happen, I wouldn't think.
No, I wouldn't think so either. All right, so it's a difficult slate. Again, we spent a long time on yesterday's members only video, really breaking down the ins and the outs of it. There are not a lot of pay down options that have any really, that you're not, what's the best way to phrase this? There's nobody that's cheap that you really, really want to roster. It's the biggest difference between the regular season and the playoffs when it comes to NBA. Every day in the NBA in the regular season, you feel like you get multiple 3 to 4K guys you can roster. Those don't exist on this slate. So we're looking at PJ Tucker at center for only 4,300. One thing that I think is big on this one is there's no other center that's a must. We looked at a couple other centers that were considered rosterable, but nobody's a must. So I don't mind wasting a center spot on a guy with limited upside because there's nobody else that I'm really in love with on this slate. So Tucker at 4,300 is like the cheapest guy that you have a ton of desire to roster in cash games or GPPs. He still plays big minutes. He also was ejected last game, which is why he didn't play as many minutes. I just think he's a solid filler piece, nothing more than that. And if you want to roster Giannis, Harden, or hell, even both of them, you're going to need guys like Tucker, and they're just very few at disposal this today.
I don't even care what kind of roster construction you want to have. I think you need a guy like Tucker. I mean, even if you want to go all mid-tier, like you got to get a couple of cheap guys in there. And it's not like Tucker's 3K, as you mentioned. I mean, he's still 4,300. He is my favorite, like, lower value piece, though, on this whole slate. I feel like we talked about him a bunch yesterday. I'm of the opinion that him and Schroeder's price, like, stayed the exact same, partly because they didn't have good scores because they got ejected early. So we'll take advantage of that. I think both are just rock-solid filler pieces. Tucker plays massive minutes. There aren't that many guys that are, like, around 4K that you could see playing 40 minutes. That's more than in play for Tucker here. He's my favorite, like, filler piece by far on this slate.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with him. So this is a lot like Jeremy Grant yesterday. I wasn't in love with playing Jeremy Grant, but, the forward position was relatively weak. We were not riddled with options. And he plays big minutes. And he had a decent game. That's kind of what I expect out of Tucker today. I don't expect him to go for 40, but I feel pretty comfortable he'll get you 20 plus. And while 20 wouldn't be a great score off of 4,300, but if you told me he went for 20 today, I would just play him everywhere because of what he allows me to afford and just the safety of it. Playoffs is way more about safety and not ruining the lineup. Like, I had a lot of great plays yesterday, except for I was dead wrong on Montrezl Harrell. It took everything Jamal Murray had to put me in the money.
Yeah, so, like, for me also, when we talked about Tucker, I think that he's more likely to get 30 plus than under 15.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know if I would. I don't disagree. I don't know if I'd agree. I would say if you give me 25 plus or under 15, I would take that.
I was literally almost going to say, I think that he's more likely here, and I would very rarely say this, to get over 30 than under 20 here.
Oof, that's ballsy.
I just feel like he plays monster minutes, and as you talk about, like, he's just going to walk into some rebounds. He can also, like, make a couple shots. Listen, it's not going to be shocking to anyone if he puts up 15 DK points here, but that doesn't kill you, and if he has less than that.
All right. Well, for a guy who we all know very much about, we definitely beat that dead horse for a few minutes. But if you guys can't guess, we're both totally on board with PJ Tucker today.
Yep.
Although I do like the nickname TJ Pucker now that I think about it. All right, man. So let's move over to the Heat playing my Milwaukee Bucks today. So we broke down roster construction on this game a lot. And while we agree Giannis will be the more popular stud of the two of them, once you roster a James Harden or a Giannis Antetokounmpo, roster construction becomes increasingly more difficult because of the lack of paydown options. So there was a couple of like alternate builds where we didn't use a stud and we used Jimmy as our top overall guy. And we liked it. Once you build with Giannis, it is difficult to get Butler in your lineup. It can be done. I'm not saying it can't be, but it's definitely not as easy. But we're both fans of Jimmy today. You know what I mean? He had a week off to get right from that shoulder injury. We could picture him as a complimentary star with Giannis or as your top pay-up guy, and then you can go truly mid-tier on this one. For me, this is more intangible than statistical breakdown. Like, I love the dog and Jimmy for a game one versus a top team. Jump shots may not be falling early for a team that came, that has had a week off. So, Butler's one of their guys that can get into the paint, take a couple of closer shots to the basket, kind of right that ship while maybe they flounder for a few minutes while they get their jumpers rolling. So, big fan today.
Yeah, big fan of Butler. You got to assume that a lot of people are going to like Butler here because, like, what's not to like? I mean, everyone thinks this series is going to be competitive. He's their best player. He's got that dog in him. Even if he's not scoring, he can do so many other things. He's my favorite. Like, I don't even want to call him a spend up option, but he's one of the first guys I'll be locking in today.
I liked what we talked about yesterday. Like, can you imagine if Anthony Davis had the inner workings of Jimmy Butler, like that work ethic / just I'm the best guy on the court. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take care of things. Like, it would be absolutely unstoppable.
I will say, watching Davis, like, he looks more like he has that dog in him, like more so than he did in previous years.
I mean, I don't know, he's a very exciting player to watch. I would like to see it, unless, they meet the Bucks in the finals. Then I hope he falters, obviously. But, like, if Davis had that consistent type of, I'm going to go out and give you my best, I'm the best guy on the court and I know it performance every single day, he would easily be one of the top 2 or 3 players in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely looked like that in a lot of that Portland series when he wanted to. And I think that's the point, though, we talk about. Like, he can do that in spurts, but, like, can he do that, like, when the pressure's really on?
Well, and against a good team. Like,
yeah.
I liked Portland. I liked the bubble story. Damian was amazing, but there's a reason they barely made the playoffs, right? And also their defense is terrible. So give it to me let me see what happens when he goes up against the Clippers or something like that.
For sure. I'm with you 100% there.
All right. So because it's a 2-game slate, and there's not a lot of ways to get ugly on this one and go with lower owned guys, we wanted to talk about somebody that we prefer in deeper GPPs. So it's Kelly Olynyk of the Miami Heat. This is not a guy I would recommend for cash games. So I want to be very clear and perfectly clear for everybody listening. If this pick falters, don't be shocked by it. What we want to do, though, is bring up at least one guy that maybe you can get a little bit different with on a slate like this. Kelly O did not play a ton of minutes in the Indiana series. I think he averaged about 15 per game, maybe even a little bit under that. I didn't write it down, but he didn't play a lot. Although Milwaukee is a lot bigger than Indiana. You know what I mean? You have Giannis, you got Brook Lopez, you got 2 7-footers on the floor at all the time. So there's a reason to think Olynyk might play a few more minutes in this series. It's far from guaranteed. I wouldn't trust it early on, but this might be the one game where you could surprise people with it potentially. Again, it's just a theory. We don't know for sure. Well, a couple of things that he does play well against the Buck weaknesses is specifically open 3-pointers. He is not going to be your top option on the offense. So when the Bucks, really just fill up the lane, that leaves guys like Olynyk wide open for open threes. And if he hits them, he can put up points in a hurry. And for a sub 4K salary, hey, that could be a big help today. The other point, Bam spends a lot of time on Giannis. That's a great way to get into early foul trouble. And they cannot go small against the Bucks.
Yeah, he's also got big-time playoff experience. So, I'm not going to be surprised if he's in the rotation at all here. Again, like this Olynyk, like, when I think of him, I think of a general slate question, like breaking down the slate. It's that we've talked about there is no, good value guys on the slate, no one you feel comfortable rostering. But that does not mean that none of these guys will be good. You know what I mean? Those are 2 completely separate things.
Yeah, and it's possible things get different. I saw this morning Eric Bledsoe is now questionable. I fully expect him to play. But, like, if he's out, that changes everything, because then all of a sudden you're looking at, like, DiVincenzo's and George Hill's and stuff like that. I fully expect him to give it a go and play, though.
Yeah, I mean, I literally just saw that. And do you know why he's questionable?
Apparently he picked up a little injury in the Game 5 against Orlando. I'm guessing it's not a big deal, but I don't know for sure. I saw it this morning and barely looked into it myself.
All righty, well, it's just something to keep an eye out for, I guess. We don't have the slate till later, which is nice.
Absolutely, guys. Well, we appreciate you all watching today. Click the thumbs up button. Best of luck today, and we'll talk to you guys about some baseball here momentarily.
Thanks, guys.